Okay, we are live right now. Can everybody hear me okay? Excellent. Okay, so this format is new. As those of you that have known me for a while know that I change things up quite often. If something doesn't seem to be working, I'll make a change, I'll make a change, I'll make a change. So this is a change. My mentorships were created based on this idea of being inspired. It came to be a realization of mine that a lot of people view deaf people in videos for receptive practice, for voicing practice. It's this stressed out, staring at them, watching them sign, mad at themselves because they're not understanding what's going on. But during the practice, what doesn't end up happening is marveling at the ASL. Is going, oh, they signed it that way. I would have never signed that way. Look at that use of that classifier usage, or look at the role shifting. Wow, let me copy that so that I can do that with my own ASL. So the way the format is currently for the webinars is each mentorship span, there will be 2 webinars. The first one is going to be the inspiration webinar, where we look at the video to marvel at the signer's use of ASL. Okay, point out things, whether it be a new sign that you've never seen before or some sort of ASL element that's executed in a really interesting way. We can discuss what other ways that ASL element could be applied to your own use and your own interpreting or your own signing. And then the second webinar during each mentorship period, in the toolbox you guys have a page that lists this out too with the dates. The second one is application. So now we're going to discuss different things we could apply, and then we're going to actually apply it. And you all already have the narrative link, so you can start in the next couple of weeks listening to it and seeing how you can apply it from what we discussed. Take what we discussed in this webinar to apply it to that narrative that's already there and already posted, okay? So the first thing I want to ask is, anybody who's already watched this video, hopefully everybody has, can anybody volunteer to just summarize what the video is talking about? Or we can even, if somebody has one bit, somebody can say, okay, it's kind of about this, and then we can keep chiming in to create some kind of a summary of this video. Anyone want to start? And just like talking 2 or 3 sentences, overall idea what this video is about. Anyone? Okay, I'll start, okay? And then you guys can add on from this. This is the video, by the way, called Unpacking Privileges, okay? She signs privileges different ways in the video, but Unpacking Privileges. And it's actually the second part. So she obviously had another video. She starts off this video by saying, so I want to add something. That's how the video starts, okay? So, and all she's really discussing, I don't want to give you the whole summary. So it's about intersectionality, this concept, which is encouraging people to look at their own privilege in society. Does anybody want to add anything to that? Again, what? Oh, it's about people, encouraging people, sectionality, that concept is about encouraging people to look at their own privilege in society, their own innate privileges that we all have, essentially. Does anyone want to add to that?
I know that she gives can you hear me?
You are killing me right now. I can't, my heart cannot take this.
Oh, I thought you meant you couldn't hear me. I'm on my way home and the webinar was starting. I was going to be late. Sorry. I'm almost there, I promise.
Okay, say what you're going to say quickly and then look at the road.
She gives an example about being followed around at a store and about it being, you know, about her skin color. Or
right, okay, good. Okay, look at the road. Okay, so she does. So one example that she gives is she says, as a white woman, for example, Even though I don't think in my life that I have this privilege, it's like nothing to me, but it's there because I've never in my life gone to a store and have to worry about somebody following me around. That's an example of a privilege that she gives. So that's an example. As far as summary, do you think we kind of have wrapped up the summary already? It's kind of sort of wrapped up already. Okay, so that's what it's about. Looking at our own, what do we all have innately that is a, something that benefits us. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want everybody to pull up the webinar, and I want everybody to select one thing that is noteworthy, one ASL element that's noteworthy to you, okay? So watch the whole thing through, and those of you who are watching it live, this is Unpacking Privileges, and it is linked in the toolbox as well as both of the programs. It's linked. It's a 3-minute and 35-second video, so if you're watching this live and you don't have access to the video, just bear with us for about 4 minutes. We're gonna be kind of quiet while we watch the video. And so everybody, please just actually, let's do it this way. Oh, I changed my mind. Let's break it up so we're not silent for so long. So we'll just watch the first minute right now. Within the first minute, everybody pick something in the video that's noteworthy to you. It's something about her ASL usage. So pull up the video, and I'm starting to watch it now. Okay, how are we? Did everybody find something, whether it be a sign that you're like, I don't know, I've never seen that before, how can I use that sign, or a technique, or some kind of element? Whoever's first, who wants to start? You can just unmute. Or sign, okay.
She's talking, when she's talking about this sign, I don't know what that, I've never seen that before.
Right, so this is the sign that she's using for intersectionality, and it's actually literally intersection. And she kind of explains why it is it's kind of the concept behind it is people intersecting in the world and how that intersection, pans out. So that's just her sign for that concept of intersectionality. At the very beginning of it, she uses a couple of other signs. She's like playing with signs and isn't sure. She uses this too, intersectionality, how we all kind of weave together in the world. So she uses several different signs to kind of convey that. But at the beginning, she's like, I don't know the sign. It's like this, or this, or that, or this. Yeah, that's that one. Good one. Anybody else? Yes.
She has a question, what does that mean when she spells privilege? And that's like an instance where that sentence can be a lot shorter in ASL. She just goes, and that's the whole question.
The whole, what does that mean? Yeah. Yeah. Not even mean what? Not even mean what? Just mean.
All you need is
that one sign. Exactly. That's a good thing to know. Good thing to know. And there are so many things, so many different types of questions that you could apply that to. That Michelle, you're doing this, looking around, looking at each other. Yeah, absolutely. Back to
I was thinking of that as very much a part of that intersectionality when these people come together and they have to interact and actually look at each other or share or have perspective.
Right, perspective is a good way to look at that. Everybody's sort of observing one another and trying to gain other person's perspective. Absolutely. I think gaining another person's perspective is actually a good way to think about the concept that she's trying to convey to that whole, yeah. Marissa?
Why doesn't she use this for perspective or privileges?
Why doesn't she use what for privileges?
This sign for privileges.
I've never seen that sign. I don't know that there's a standard sign for privilege. And now the concept of privilege is like a hot topic right now. I've seen so many. I've never seen, are you signing this like stand?
It's pulled up. Your two legs pulled up.
Oh, I understand what it's doing now. I've never seen that for privilege. I have seen this for privilege, which is a similar concept. Privilege. Okay. I've never seen this, but again, yeah, it's a similar concept, and it kind of comes from the idea of somebody is elevated. Yeah. I'm not crazy about that sign for privilege, only because
it seems like more like jumping, or it might get confusing.
No, well, yeah, I'm definitely not crazy about this sign for privilege. No offense, it's just.
No, I don't care.
But even this one, and I've seen this one quite a few times, to me, this means, this is getting a little bit too philosophical about the actual concept of privilege, but in my opinion, privilege is this innate, just because we exist, there are certain benefits that we have. Me as a hearing person, I have, there are privileges that a deaf person that looks exactly the same as me doesn't have, and etc. So I don't know that it's this rather than, I don't know. I think that's why people struggle with creating a sign for that concept, because it's such a deep, like thick, heavy concept.
Because I've seen hearing privileges as well. So hearing with that, I've seen that as well. So I'm sorry, I just was.
No, it's a great contribution. And it could be that sign becomes the widespread word of a sign for privilege.
I do like this one better though.
Yeah, that one's better too, but I struggle with that. But anyway, good, thank you. We'll have to all keep our eyes out for this sign.
What do you use then? You just finger spell, or?
It all depends on the context. It all depends on what's being, for example, if I were to say something where it's not like heavy, meaty, the privileges and people in society, blah, blah, blah. If somebody were just to say, wow, you were able to, you got ice cream for lunch, what a privilege, right? In that case, what could you use for that? Anybody want to throw it? Exactly, lucky, right? So we tend to be so fixated on these words. What's the sign for that? What's the sign? But oftentimes in context, when you just say, well, what's that person mean? What's that person mean? And you end up being able to come up with something really, really easily. But privilege is not always meaning that something so simple and light as, oh, how lucky are you, right? Anyway, sorry, something I was interpreting today in something. Anyway, so great suggestion. So privilege is a sign that's being used out there, and she uses several different signs for privilege. I see privilege a lot, not crazy about that one either, but I see that a lot. I've used it before when I'm like, guess I'm gonna go with this, okay? But I'm not crazy about this sign for privilege either. Just so you know, these are signs that are kind of being thrown out there in society for that concept. I see this, she uses this at one point. She uses several different signs, and this is one of them. And she—
what's that one again?
She uses this for the idea of privilege, meaning like, ooh, like I have that, ooh, look at what I have all these things. Look at, like lucky me, kind of a feeling of privilege. Interesting. And then at 51 seconds, we're still in that first minute of this video. At 51 seconds, she uses this sign. I don't know if everybody's watching me, but she goes like this, like this. And she uses it in the context of, she starts talking about, she says, I have some And actually, what's interesting is that this whole next section is actually an expansion of the concept of privilege. It is privilege. So this would be a fantastic way to convey the idea of privilege. She says, have some, then she says, feel like I take them for granted, or you feel like they're nothing, or they seem worthless, right? Feel, okay. Then she says, but true biz have all kinds of things. And then she goes into the specific example of going into the store, okay? So that idea, that concept of, you know, you have all these things, you feel like they're nothing, but you have them, it's a benefit, or it's special, or something like that. That is a fantastic way to interpret the concept of privilege. That's why I feel like this one sign, privilege, I feel like does not really convey it. It's such a meaty thing that, so note how she doesn't just go, she does at the beginning, fingerspell privilege, but now she really, really explains exactly what that feeling of privilege is. These things that we all innately have, that we take for granted. And listen to that, take for granted. What a tricky concept to interpret, right? When you're interpreting, you hear take for granted, everybody goes, oh, what do I do with that, right? What a tough thing. But this is a fantastic way to think of it. You think, right? You think, you take it for granted. Great way to convey that. Okay, so hopefully we're all thinking, oh yeah, I interpreted that last week and I really messed that up. Now the next time I hear it, I'm gonna have something to do for take for granted. Okay, and then right after that, this is still in the first minute. We're at just at like 56 minutes, 56 seconds. She then does a beautiful constructed action and shows her going to the store, shopping, and shows it on her face, how there's no worry. I'm walking around the store, shop for clothes, shopping. And then she goes into, she drops the constructed action at that point and explains that she doesn't have anybody following her around. Yes.
Can I go back? I've seen take it for granted.
Think nothing. I just did that. Yep.
Oh, you did? I missed it.
Yep. Think nothing. Exactly. You dog. Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, that's a great way to think of the concept of take for granted. It's very important. Hold on a second. It's very important to not get rigidly attached to one sign for a concept, okay? It's great to have tools in our toolbox, have lots of things in the file folder, have lots. So for take for granted now, our file folder for our options for that, depending on context and register and situation, now we have several different options, and hopefully you'll watch more videos and meet more deaf people and have even more things to fill into the concept of taking something for granted or not giving something the credit it deserves, you know, and that's the same exact meaning, right? So same thing, you hear, you know, you're not giving that, it really deserves a lot more credit than you're giving it. You still have that, you think it's nothing, you're thinking, oh, right? Same exact concept. That's why it's, concepts are not just boop, but it's a lot. Any questions so far? Okay, we're gonna go on to the next minute. And I'm starting mine now. About done? Okay, I have a few for this one. I'll let you guys go first. Anyone? Around? Meaning where she talked about the store, walking around the store? Is it that part? Follow you around? Yeah, that's more English influence, but yep, follow you around. And there's nothing wrong with noticing. Actually, it's a good idea to notice the English stuff too. Everybody has English stuff. Everybody. So it's cool to be able to go, oh, English, interesting use of whatever, okay? Anybody else?
Can you tell me what this is? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
This is the concept that she's discussing. I'm signing it really weird because I don't really know what the heck she's doing. But the concept that she's discussing in this video is called intersectionality. Some woman named Kimberly Crenshaw has a TED Talk about it that she said she's going to post the blog of. But it's this woman's TED Talk. If you want to Google it, you can Google Kimberly. It's spelled funny, Kimberly with an E. Crenshaw. You can Google her TED Talk to learn more about intersectionality. But this is the sign that she's using for that concept. That's why you don't know it, because it's not actually a thing. I mean, it's a thing, but it's not really. It's her made-up sign that matches that concept. That's this woman's concept. Yeah. Michelle?
Her use of space when she's comparing the two people who were hired, everything is the same. So it's all on the same level until she talks about the dollar, and the dollar lives here and the 75 cents is down here. And then all of a sudden there's this disparity in level, but it's not directly stated as this. It's just how she chooses to put $1.75, and then automatically by that you have this power dynamic.
Yeah. She really does have great use of space through all of that. So she sets up the man, we don't know it's a man until the end, but the job interview, where everything's the same, the qualifications are the same, and how did she sign $1? Everybody else signed $1. $1, yep, $1. This is something I commonly see. When you guys see deaf people signing things certain ways, really, really take note of that and think, how do I sign it? Do I sign it the way the deaf people sign it? $1, $1. Another one that I want you to notice how she signed, we both got, I don't want to sign it. We both got hired. We both got hired. Yep, we both got hired. Yep, they brought us both toward them. Both of us got brought toward them. Watch it again and see how she does it. When you get a second, not right now, but note that it's important because it's common. This is commonly missigned by interpreters and signers, and this hire is commonly missigned by interpreters. She signed skin, interesting, at the very start of that 1 minute section. She talks about her white, ooh, I almost signed it. Her white skin. She signed skin like this. I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't tend to sign skin like that, but now that I see her sign it like that, I'm gonna see if that's common. If I see most deaf people signing it that way, if I see a few more, I'm gonna go, okay, maybe that's an acceptable variation of, a common acceptable variation of the signed skin. Yes, Daniqua. You see Michelle, not me? Oh, is she stuck or is she signing? Is she stuck, frozen? Try disconnecting and then reconnecting, because if something's just stuck on your end. Everyone else sees me big, right? Yeah, okay, yeah, it's just yours. Sorry. People often ask me the question, how, is that what deaf people do? Do deaf people sign it that way? How do deaf people typically sign this sign, or what's common? What do you see? And when I get asked that question, I go through my mind like a what's that thing? A Rolodex. I go through my mind like a Rolodex, and I try to recall every time I've seen a deaf person sign whatever concept they've asked me. And I go, okay, I can definitely remember seeing it 3 times. Sometimes I can even pinpoint the exact video that I saw that. And so I can go, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's common because I see that pretty frequently. And I say that to say you guys should have the same Rolodex. So you guys should be taking note in all of these, and I know you all practice videos a lot. So you have quite a large Rolodex to be filtering, you know, going back through too. But if you're not noticing the ASL, then there's nothing in your Rolodex. So make sure that you are going through these videos and noting and noting and noting and noting that, so that when you go, gosh, that was a really hard concept. Let me think if I've ever remembered, if I can ever remember a deaf person signing something like that. Well, you know, what have I seen them do for that before? It really will help you tap into really, you know, interesting, more ASL depictions and things. Tess, is that, yeah, you're kind of dark, but I can see you.
My question is, do you notice it most of the time with regional signs? Like people from New York versus California, or what?
Do I notice most signs have regionality? No, no. There are definitely some regional signs, absolutely, but most signs are standard. But there are some signs that have a couple of different standard signs. And then there are things that people make up and think are standard but aren't. Yeah. And then there are regionals. You know, there's all sorts of variation. I don't mean to be negative, but it happens all the time. So people in school districts, or not to, you know, a school district, but for certain situations, people will have signs made up. What often also happens is there are certain situations where making up a sign is perfectly acceptable, but somebody will take that sign and think that it's, you know, that they can use it in every situation. For example, in the last 2 weeks, I've been interpreting a tech situation. And so there's all kinds of crazy things that these guys are throwing. They're engineers, they're throwing out all kinds of crazy stuff. I can't go, okay, so forever and ever, this is the sign for whatever, you know, SQL Server. I'm making something up, but you know, like this is the sign for SQL Server. So when I hop in, I do a lot of computer tech interpreting. There's a lot of that around here. So my next job interpreting for a deaf programmer, I can't just use that guy's sign for SQL Server and think that that's the standard sign. You know what I mean? But people do that and then go, you know, then wonder. But anyway. Any other questions? That was a good one. Okay, let's go to the next minute. So starting from 2 to 3 minutes. All right, I have a lot in this one. Before we start, I want to make a note that this sign is a perfect example of what we were just discussing. This sign is a sign that she's using for this concept that she's discussing now in at least 2 videos for the concept of intersectionality. But if you go to work tomorrow and all of a sudden somebody starts talking about Kimberly Crenshaw's TED Talk about intersectionality, don't think the deaf person's gonna know that this sign means intersectionality or even like the use of this sign. It's just a made up sign that she's using for this purpose. Okay. Yes.
What's this? She did.
A very good question. What is that? In this video, what is she using this sign to mean?
See, it seems like she's saying, bring down.
She's saying
like
she's saying privilege. So this.
Oh.
Yes. So this is an interesting sign because and one that I get asked about a lot. So, where do I start with this? This sign means take advantage of, okay? And if you look in the dictionary, what the dictionary definition of this sign is take advantage of somebody negatively, okay? It just is. And it can be an incredibly negative sign, even going on to meaning like sexual misconduct, okay? So that's what this sign originated as. This sign has morphed. And this is one of those things people said to me last year. Is this sign only negative? I would say, yes, that sign is only negative. And then I watched and watched, and again and again and again and again and again, I saw it being used positively as like she, but other people too, has a video about Niall DeMarco where she talks about how he used his deafness to as an advantage. So rather than take advantage of, it's often used as an advantage. I see that a lot. And so because it's used as advantage positively, I guess that's why she is associating that with privilege, which privilege advantage are almost synonymous. So yeah, that's what she means, privilege. She signs that for privilege, and right after that she signs this for privilege. Yeah, very interesting. I'm not saying you should take this sign and go, okay, tomorrow, from now on in, this is the sign for privilege. As we learned, she signed like 4 different signs for privilege. So obviously we're all still on the fence on what the sign for privilege is. But it's still something interesting to note. And as I said, if you see something over and over and over again, like I've seen this for positive advantage, I have to at some point go, I have to humbly say, fine, I guess it's not only negative. Apparently it's growing in popularity, and this is now an alternate use of this sign is the positive word advantage, or the concept of advantage. Have to accept it, right? Okay, what else did we see? Good catch on that.
You recently brought up this sign as to mean a person, and I've never seen it before until she just did it.
It's another one. The more you watch, I'm constantly watching videos because I do these mentorships, and so I'm always looking. And I'll tell you what, probably about a year ago, this started coming up, and I was like, what in the what? And then sure enough, it's becoming more and more and more popular. I see it all the time now for person, individuals, person or individuals. Yep. So just something to note. And that's becoming so common that you can start, just feel free to use it if you like it. Your person is fine. Nah, but person is fine still. People still use person. But this is the new one, so just so you know. Any others? That was a very good catch.
I noticed the eye gaze for oppression. She definitely took her eyes away from the camera and looked up.
So great use of space, great use of levels of hierarchy or whatever. Yep, and then oppression this way. It's also directional. So not only did she look at the person oppressing her, put that person above her, but she also turned, rather than being oppression, turned it toward her oppression. Good catch. Yep, oppression. Interesting. Anybody else? I have this down. Yeah, so this idea of when we hear the word realize, if I were just to say, everybody sign the sign realize, go ahead and sign it. What's the sign for realize? Everybody sign realize. It's not a trick question, you're probably all right. You're probably all right. This is a perfectly acceptable sign for the sign realize, so I don't want you guys to think you did it wrong, okay? This is perfectly acceptable, but most of the time you will see deaf person showing the realization rather than signing a term for realize. And it's this, and she signs that a lot. Oh, so she says, you know, I don't remember what it was at the end of that piece, but she did say something like, you know, you acknowledge it, you make
Tessa goes, oh, as well. Like,
oh, I didn't even catch that. Yeah, oh, good, yeah. So she kind of did sort of sort of borrow the English and use the ASL, which you see deaf people doing, especially educated deaf people, highly educated deaf people will do both in one bit all the time. The English with the ASL. See that very, very commonly, and that's what she did. Interesting. Anybody else? I have one more for that section. Oh, unpacking. I think she signs it two-handed. I always want to do it one-handed, but I think she does it two-handed. And the last thing I have with this section is she says, she signs something like, doesn't matter, you know, don't know, still have. Okay, something like that. And in the English interpretation that I would say, or the English equivalent would be whether you know it or not. Whether you know it or not. So if you think about that, if you're interpreting again, when you're interpreting again and you hear that English sentence, whether you know it or not, now you have a really great way to convey that. Maybe no, or doesn't matter, you know, don't know, still, okay? Whether you know it or not. All right, let's look at this last closing section, last 35 seconds. I'm starting mine now. Okay. Who wants to start? Etc. Etc. Yep, it's etc. It's a variation on, I'm trying to think of this, etc. How do you guys sign etc.? I don't sign it like this, so I can't think of the normal. Etc. etc. Yeah. I never sign that sign, but it's fine. It's a fine sign. It's just not something I use. Anybody else? Oh boy. Transgender? I think transgender? Transgender. Anybody else?
She does this at 3 minutes. She goes something like this.
I can't see what your hands are doing. It's
sorry. She does something like that.
Experience. Oh, this means,
yeah.
I sign it like this, but it's the same thing, and it means what's going on around somebody, their experience, their world. I don't want to use the word environment because then we'll stick that word to our heads and never use anything else. But it's essentially your environment, what's happening around you, your experience, your world. Anybody else? Michelle?
Just,
yep, I have that one.
To like acknowledge and honor your life experiences.
Yep, acknowledge, recognize, you know, give recognition to, something like that, yes. And that comes from her saying, you know, I'm not necessarily going to understand everything. And she said, she starts the section off with, and I'm going to mess this up, so bear with me. She signs understand with emphasis, and she adds a tongue morpheme that I've never been able to be fluent at, so just so you know. But you see very ASL people do it, and it hits the chin like this. I mean, the cheek, sorry, like that. And it just means, it just means very, okay? So what she means is, do I have do I understand this completely? No, that's how she actually starts this last section at 3 minutes. So she says, I don't fully understand every single person or every situation, but we still meet, know, gain understanding, gain perspective, and acknowledge individuals, okay? Anybody else have any final things that you were able to note from this?
That was acknowledge, you say?
Catherine, I missed you. Acknowledge, recognize, honor, honor in a way like in a, you know, regular world kind of way, not in a give somebody an award way, but just like, you know, it's a person, I just met you, and yeah, cool. Respect. Catherine? Sorry, I noticed you earlier, and then I went and got distracted.
It's okay. Two things. I was thinking when you said honor, a good way that helps me to remember it is, even though it may feel literal, is to think of it as you're tipping your hat to somebody.
Right, exactly. Yep,
that kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yep, where it came from.
The second thing was, I just have to say thank you for clarifying that intersection thing. That really threw me. But I wonder, is she trying to reinforce or expand, or I don't know what she's doing, but she at the very beginning did something as it was shown with this kind of a hand shape. And
I'll tell you exactly what she's. I'm pulling it up right now. And probably find what she does.
I really racked my brain on that, and I had nothing.
I'll often get mesmerized by a video that has a really weird beginning, and that's the case with this. She's continuing with a different video, and so the beginning of this is very awkward. So let me show you what she does at the very beginning. She starts off with one more, okay, one more. This is a sign shortcut for one more. I want to more add. Then she does this. She does this, and you can see her face. She's trying to figure something out. She does this, and then she goes, I can't sign it. I'm not sure how, but old sign this or this, which I find that interesting. She said old sign. So maybe the idea that this is made up, maybe this intersectionality thing's been around for a while. Maybe I'm wrong about that, because she does sign old sign this, okay? So the beginning is her figuring out how to sign intersectionality. She goes this, or this, and I don't know, I forgot the sign, I don't know how to sign it, but the old sign is this, and that's how this whole video starts, which can be confusing. So what this is just her trying to figure out probably some other sign that she saw somewhere,
So
concept of intersectionality.
You could potentially voice that as, I'm trying to remember how to sign it, but I'm not sure. And then keep
so I would probably voice that as, let me add one more thing. So it's either this sign or this other sign. I can't remember exactly the sign for it, but I know the old sign for it, but anyway, and then I just jump right into it. Just make it very clear that she's going through several different signs. Yes.
I just looked one up, and apparently it is around, the guy goes like this, he goes.
Lift your hand up a little bit higher. Okay, like this?
No, he comes out and then goes down.
Okay, so there you go. Something
that's pretty cool.
So now we have 4 or 5 signs for intersectionality. We'll get to play with it when it comes up.
He's an older man, so I would trust him, I think.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm looking at you, Danico, but I didn't see what you signed. Fingerspelled word at 2 minutes is autism. And then she signed fingerspelled sexist after that. Autism, sexist, yes. I had, really quick, and my salmon's getting cold at the moment, but really quickly, I met with, I just lost my train of thought. Oh, I met with somebody today, and they told me that they wanted to say, you know what, they said, I didn't believe you at first when you said the thing about, you know, don't get freaked out by fingerspelling. And that's something I always say, don't let your mind stop when fingerspelling happens. Don't just freak out because you missed a fingerspelled word. And she says, I didn't believe you before, but I was interpreting today, and sure enough, I saw fingerspelling. I didn't freak out. I totally missed it. And the person in the very next sentence signed something, and she goes, oh, that was a fingerspelled word. So because she didn't freak out, she was able to use context and be able to get the whole thing and remember enough of the letters in the fingerspelled word to be able to connect that that's what she just fingerspelled. So it's so, so important not to let our minds just go, oh my gosh, fingerspelled words. Oh my goodness, I just missed it. Oh my goodness, what am I gonna do? Oh my goodness, it's all destroyed. Oh my goodness, I now have to stop the doctor and stop everything. Oh, they're gonna look at me. And we go through all those things in our head every single time sometimes, and we've just now missed 4 or 5 more sentences because of that one word and us freaking out. Oftentimes, context helps a lot. Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming. It's been a long time since I've had such a full house. You may want to re-watch this video to think, you may not, it's long, but hopefully you took some notes so you can remember what to apply to the narrative that we're going to be discussing in the very next webinar. So things that we discussed tonight will be applied to the narrative, try to apply to the narrative that we'll be talking about in the next webinar. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you guys hopefully soon. Take care.